It's one of the greatest mysteries of the human journey. When did our ancient ancestors first arrive in the Americas?
There should not be people on the continent before 15,000 years ago.
But what if the history books are wrong by thousands of years, and early humans crossed a forbidding ice sheet to get here? Renegade archaeologists across the Americas are making shocking discoveries. In a cave in Mexico, evidence of humans living here deep in the Ice Age.
Bones, that changes history.
In the Canadian Yukon, evidence suggests that humans survived the Ice Age alongside now extinct beasts.
That's something, everybody.
And in the deserts of New Mexico, ancient footprints baffle experts.
Look at what Bonnie found.
Speechless.
History will have to be rewritten.
It's just going to change everything we think about the peopling of the Americas. It's mind-blowing.
I am walking where they were walking.
On the plains of central Mexico, in mid-February, the dust-filled air is scorching. On the parched earth, beneath the Zuloaga Mountains, there's nothing but cactus as far as the eye can see. Cyprian Ardelian, a Romanian-Mexican archaeologist, has been scouring this harsh landscape for over a decade. He's on a controversial quest that could change history.
I'm in search for the earliest humans on the American continent. When I say early, I'm talking about the Ice Age. That's what I'm searching for.
The mystery of when ancient humans first reached the Americas has gripped archaeologists for centuries.
When did they get here? That's the biggest question you can have on a continent. This is the lost holy grail of prehistoric archaeology.
Peopling of the Americas truly matters if we want to understand human origins, how we emerged, how we evolved, and how we got everywhere. From the Arctic to the tropics, to Antarctica. The peopling of the world during the Ice Age, that was the beginning of this trajectory that so much defines who we are as a species today.
The Ice Age began 2.6 million years ago and lasted until 12,000 years ago. But the temperature wasn't constant. Ice levels rose and fell across Earth's landscape numerous times.
We are searching for the humans of the LGM, of the last glacial maximum. That's when the Ice Age was at its highest.
The last glacial maximum was 20,000 years ago, an age so inhospitable that it stopped both humans and beasts in their tracks. It's a mysterious era that takes us deep into prehistory, tens of thousands of years before the fall of Rome, the first Chinese dynasty, and before the pyramids of Egypt. It is a time of relentless ice and snow, ruled by monstrous beasts. Ardelian's quest to find people who survived this frozen world goes against everything we've been taught. Most textbooks say humans left Africa at least 60,000 years ago, some traveling northeast, eventually reaching the Bering Land Bridge that connected what is now Asia with the Americas. Here, they hit a roadblock, an impenetrable wall of ice.
Any ability for animals, even humans, to migrate through Canada would have slammed shut. Humans would not have been able to make that journey.
The ice sheet was massive, stretching from what is now the Yukon all the way to New York. It was nearly 10,000 feet high and would have towered many times over our tallest skyscrapers. A 6 million square mile desert of ice. No plants, no animals. Attempting to cross it, the thinking goes, meant certain death.
but there were corridors that were potentially becoming ice-free as early as 15,000 years ago after the last glacial maximum that humans could have migrated through.
Ardelian doesn't buy it. He says early humans crossed over many thousands of years earlier and traveled all the way to Mexico, putting them in North America long before the end of the Ice Age.
How is it possible for them to be here?
Ardelian's theory was developed by accident. He didn't come here looking for traces of early people. He started out searching for something far less controversial: Ice Age plants and animals.
I thought this would be a good site to obtain paleo-environmental information, like how the climate was, to extract pollen and other sort of evidence, try to reconstruct the Ice Age environment.
Ardelian asks villagers if there are any caves in the area. They point him in the direction of one of the highest mountains in central Mexico.
Locals called it Chiquihuite Cave. It was at almost 3,000 meters of altitude. One has to walk like 9 hours up the hill. Very difficult logistics. I started excavations.
He takes samples of the sediments in the cave and sends them away for radiocarbon dating.
The most recent layers at the top, basically under your feet as you walk, were 12,000 years old. Everything we excavated was Ice Age.
A rare site, ideal for learning about the Ice Age environment. As he digs, he makes a surprising discovery.
Suddenly, started to note small pieces of stone with modified edges. So when ancient people make tools out of stone, they hit the stone and they obtain these pieces of stone that they can use as cutting tools or scraping tools.
But how is that possible? No humans are supposed to have arrived in the Americas yet, let alone so far south.
I really didn't expect humans there. I realize that indeed the cave is actually full of tools.
But you can't have tools without humans to make them.
I still had no idea how old.
Stone can't be dated, so he collects sediment around the tools and sends it for radiocarbon testing. He dates each layer from the surface of the cave to the very bottom of his excavation. The results are startling.
When I started to receive the first results, and it was, the dates suggest 27,000 plus minus 2,500 years. So that layer could be as old as 30,000 years old. That goes pretty much against everything that's accepted. We are in central Mexico, not on the coast, not right next to the Bering Strait. We are many thousands of kilometers from any possible entry point to the continent, whether by land or sea. And yet, for thousands and thousands of years, you have humans living there.
In 2020, he publishes his findings, making headlines around the world.
Cyprien Ardelian is here on the show with us.
Good morning, everybody.
De tribus humaines aux alentours de un peu plus de 30 000 ans.
This is a major find of human prehistory.
Contribuind astfel la rescrierea preistoriei Americii Latine.
Dar, în mod sigur, a început o nouă etapă, pentru că și publicul general.
It blew everybody's minds. If the evidence is accurate, it's going to change everything we think about the people in the Americas.
The discovery is published in the journal Nature.
Chiquihuite did make a big impact when it was published in Nature in 2020. It was huge. Cyprien Ardelian has been working there with a multidisciplinary team using all of the barrage of techniques that archaeologists have at their disposal these days, which is really exciting.
But the excitement is tinged with skepticism. The evidence from Chiquihuite gets scrutinized by the best in the field, and questions are raised.
They called this discovery a misjudgment of data.
The problem is whether or not the artifacts are truly artifacts, whether or not those are naturally produced from rocks falling and crashing into one another, or could these truly be things that were the products of humans?
For somebody looking at all this evidence from far away and not necessarily being on the site and working directly with the artifacts, it's understandable. But the tools, they were not accidents.
Ardelian's discovery fails to shift the official date of human arrival to the Americas. It remains at 15,000 years ago. But convinced he's on to something that could rewrite history, Ardelian doubles his efforts.
I said, there must be some other caves, so let's expand the search.
To convince the skeptics, Ardelian needs more proof, like a fire pit or bones.
As soon as I stood on the edge of the entrance here, I said, this is it.
60 miles from Chiquihuite Cave is what locals call Cima de las Golondrinas, the Chasm of Swallows. It's a huge hole with a 40-foot vertical drop into a large cavern. For Ardelian, it's the perfect way to travel back in time.
Every grain of dirt that goes in, as well as animals, humans, whatever, never comes out, right? So it's like a time capsule.
The team builds a scaffold into the dark hole that will be their dig site for the next 3 months. And they set up camp on the slopes of a cactus-lined valley.
We are far away from civilization here. There's no phone signal, strong winds, heavy rains. It's very difficult to build a camp here.
But the terrain isn't their only challenge. Sitting at the intersection of major drug trafficking routes, this region has become a violent battleground between Mexico's most dangerous cartels. It has one of the highest murder rates in the world. So every time Ardelian goes on a supply run, he's risking his life.
Don't film on the street.
No?
On the street, no.
From inside the truck we can do?
No, I mean, don't film the street. There are people there, and who knows what they are doing right now.
Archaeologist Cyprian Ardelian is risking everything to find evidence of the earliest people on the American continent.
Don't film the street. There are people there, and who knows what they are doing right now.
He's even risking his life.
You will see a lot of destruction here. The house is there. And that's where we stop talking English in loud voice. The drug cartels, they are all around us. And that's why you need a hardcore crew. So it's better to be hidden in the mountains than visible near the villages. It's better to have an isolated camp. We are about 60 kilometers away from the town, and there is no road to get here, just like a path.
Once safely out of town, he returns his focus to the ancient past.
We are driving right around the edges of an ancient lake that was active during the Ice Age. This region was very different from what you see behind me.
During the last glacial maximum, 20,000 years ago, central Mexico was lush and green, where there is now cactus, towered majestic pine trees. The cracked earth was once soaked with water, forming lakes and marshes that fed Ice Age plants and animals. But did humans live among them?
Only one person at the same time on the flight of stairs. 12 meters of free fall.
To change the history books, Ardalian needs more than bits of stone. He's looking for butchered animal bones.
Cut bone beats stone tools because there is a stronger argument towards human presence when you have a human intervention on an animal part.
When hunters deflesh and butcher an animal, they leave telltale cut marks on bones.
A bone dates itself because you can take tiny samples of it and do radiocarbon.
Ardalian's team meticulously excavates each layer of sediment in the cave and records every bone and stone they find.
This is a quiet place. This is a place where you have time to dream with the world that you are uncovering.
When you expose a buried walking surface in a cave, a surface that you can actually see the ancient topography, and you can imagine human feet on it, that's time travel. You are sitting on the same surface as the ancient ones.
After 5 weeks of digging, he hits Ice Age sediment in a lower cavern of the cave, a thin layer of charcoal that he's dated to 16,000 years ago.
Here, at least 3 major, extremely thin lenses of charcoal. It is the very end of the last glacial maximum. So the whole story we are telling here has to do with this layer.
If the history books are right, there should be no evidence of humans below the charcoal. But if Ardalian is right, the cave would have been an ideal place for people to find shelter from the elements and clean water to drink. If they were really here.
Oh, damn. Oh, bone sitting on the next layer, a big rib. It's maybe the rib of a small herbivore. There's new bone coming out. Didn't expect this to show up here. It looks like a leg bone. There he goes. It's cut. Cut. And it's V-shaped. There was a cutting edge that went through. Man, it's cut. This is an old cut.
Ardalian thinks it's the ankle bone of a bighorn sheep. The faint etchings appear to have been made by a stone blade.
Maybe of 2 blows. Could be a first clue to the presence of humans at the very end of the glacial maximum in this cave. And if they were here in the middle of Mexico, they were probably roaming around the continent throughout the entire glacial maximum. That 1 millimeter cut changes history.
If the cut was made by a human, it means people were here in Mexico at least 16,000 years ago. If so, how did they make it across the vast ice sheets in the north?
We can't know the how until we know the when, so the when's got to be known first.
Figuring out exactly when people arrived in the north across the Bering Land Bridge might explain how they could have made it all the way to Mexico. French archaeologist Lauriane Bourgeon is also searching for the answer. She's sifting through tantalizing clues from the Yukon Territory in Canada, from a decades-old excavation site called Bluefish Caves.
When I started learning about the prehistory of the Americas, I was told that people arrived in the Yukon 15,000 years ago. I heard about Bluefish Caves when I was doing my master in France, and I was told that there were some stone tools and some possibly modified bones, possibly 25,000 years old, but it was contested.
The evidence sat in boxes, ignored until Bourgeon decided to take a fresh look. The archaeologist who unearthed it in the 1970s was, like Ardelian, a renegade. Jacques Cinq-Mars disputed common wisdom, arguing the stone and bones he found at Bluefish Caves had been used by humans deep into the Ice Age.
This is a mammoth leg bone, a long bone, which shows as elements of reduction by human beings. And the age is about 23,500 years ago.
His 30 years of research were mired in controversy. Critics questioned his dating techniques. Funding eventually dried up and he died in 2021, before completing his work. But his story intrigued Bourgeon.
I decided to test this entire bone collection. I thought that Jacques Cinq-Mars might have been wrong. Were people there at Bluefish Caves 20 or 30,000 years ago, or is it all incorrect?
Bourgeon searches through 40,000 ancient animal bones, caribou, woolly mammoths, and extinct species of bison and horse.
And then I found cut marks on bones. One bone in particular, a horse mandible with cut marks. There's a series of cuts, very thin, very deep. A carnivore wouldn't leave such marks.
Archaeologist Lauriane Bourgeon discovers a horse jaw in the archives with mysterious cuts on it.
There's a series of cuts, very thin, very deep.
Could they have been made by humans?
A carnivore wouldn't leave such marks. Very clear human intervention on this horse mandible.
To determine its age, Bourgeon sends the bone to one of the world's best radiocarbon labs at Oxford University in England.
And that's when I got that date of 24,000 years. So that's when I completely changed my mind. I was like, okay, I have cut marks on this bone, and I have clear date for that bone. So it means that people were there 24,000 years ago, and it means that Jacques was right.
Now she is following in Cinq-Mars' footsteps, launching a new excavation at Bluefish Caves to find out when early people were really here.
This is Lauren at Bluefish Camp. We copy.
Good, 1 minute out.
Bourgeon comes armed with cutting-edge technology that her predecessor didn't have in the 1970s. She's also brought an elder, a former chief of the local Vuntut Gwitchin community. Bruce Charlie worked with Cinq-Mars as a teenager during the original excavation 40 years ago.
So we came here in the hope to vindicate Jacques Cinq-Mars and find more evidence. We are hoping to find bones, artifacts, stone tools, evidence of a human presence.
Hello.
Well, we made it.
You made it today.
Rolf Mandel is director of the Odyssey research program that funded the dig.
This site represents a potential paradigm buster and could change our thinking about when people were in the Americas. So Bruce, this is Cave 4, and
very happy to be here today, and I want to go do some digging and try to think about the past when it began.
The area around Bluefish Caves was an Ice Age anomaly. Most of what is now Canada was under ice. But the northern Yukon was an ice-free plain, thick with shrubs and grasses. A huge lake filled the valley, and large mammals came here to drink and feed. The caves above it would have been an ideal perch for hunters to spot the game below.
Okay, and that was east? Yep. Perfect.
Despite the mosquitoes and the constant threat of bears, the team excavates a rock shelter known as Cave 4. Sink Mars described it in his field notebook, but never had the chance to excavate.
Well, hopefully from all of, from all the deposits here, we find something. Eh?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So did it look sort of like this when you were
yes,
here?
Exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Vantatkuchin word for Bluefish Caves is Chi Cha'an. Or people called it in that sense. They call it as to what they saw. Mm-hmm. Rock, the water coming in and swirling around and creating the caves or the dens. The argument of how long we were here, we never had that argument because we just felt and know that we've been here forever.
Our people say we have been here forever. They have every right to tell their story in their way, whether it's literal or whether it's metaphorical. I weave together archaeological knowledge, indigenous knowledge, environmental knowledge to create...
An indigenous archaeologist and professor, Paulette Steeves, believes the story of when and how humans arrived in the Americas is tainted by a colonial worldview.
What you learn in this class, that people have been in the Western Hemisphere for much longer than Western archaeologists say, you're not going to hear that in many classes. I'm Cree Métis. I was born in Whitehorse, Yukon. When I was in elementary school, I wasn't taught anything. It was if, indigenous people didn't exist. When I was in university, I was taught that we'd maybe been here 12,000 years and we were Asians from Asia. Racism is embedded in American archaeology. It has been since day one.
Theories about how and when indigenous peoples got to the Americas have gone through 4 phases. When European explorers landed in the New World and found marvels like the Mayan pyramids and Incan stone walls, they immediately came up with origin stories for them.
Early European settlers just assumed they couldn't have been made by the indigenous inhabitants of the continent, that it was something like the lost tribes of Israel who got really lost and found themselves in the Americas and developed some miraculous pyramids, or it was aliens. But it couldn't possibly have been indigenous inhabitants.
250 years later, archaeologists concede that indigenous peoples must have built these wonders, but the timeline was dictated by the Bible.
There are ideas from the Bible that the world is created in 4004 BC. This held something of a stranglehold on the idea that there is deep time, that things are much older than that.
By the early 20th century, Darwin's theory of evolution popularized the idea of prehistory and enormous Ice Age mammals called megafauna. Then at Blackwater Draw, near Clovis, New Mexico, a spear point is found embedded in a mammoth skeleton, a species that died out at least 10,000 years ago. These ancient hunters are named the Clovis people, and they're thought to have migrated from Asia into the heart of North America around 13,000 years ago.
Clovis is really nicely packaged, I would say, to appeal to your European scientists, because you have this lovely combination of beautiful stone tools, these fluted points, combined with evidence for big game hunting.
The archaeology establishment declares the Clovis people are the first and only ancient peoples in the Americas.
What archaeologists did when they created the Clovis people was they created a group as big as a hemisphere that doesn't exist anywhere in the world.
History books rarely acknowledge the prehistoric diversity of indigenous peoples. There are now thousands of different cultural groups in the Americas, and there were likely many more before European contact decimated those populations.
Calling it the Clovis people is really dehumanizing, and it's a way of erasing indigenous cultural diversity, even in prehistoric times.
But the idea took hold that the Clovis people were here 13,000 years ago and were the sole inhabitants of the entire hemisphere. The establishment dismissed growing evidence of much older sites from the Yukon, through America, and into Brazil. And then, a history-making discovery is made on a farm in southern Chile in 1977.
I did not set out to disprove or prove Clovis. I was working on a dissertation work in the mid-70s in Chile. During that time, a student told me that a large cow's tooth had been found on the property of his uncle. I said, this is not a cow's tooth, it's a mastodon tooth. And I said, where is this place?
Archaeologist Tom Dillehay is working during the same period as Jacques Cinq-Mars, but unlike Bluefish Caves, Monteverde is poised to change everything. He finds a wooden hut, clothing and food perfectly preserved in a peat bog. He assumes they're a couple of thousand years old.
Geologists came to the site and said, you're going to have a problem with this site. And I said, why? He says, that overlying peat area, we have radiocarbon dated in about 40 other sites in South Chile, and it's dating about 14,000 years ago, 14,500 years ago. I said, can't be. You can't have human artifacts that old.
Convinced geologists are wrong, Dillehay sends the human artifacts for radiocarbon dating.
And they came back 14,500 years old. And I thought, oh no, oh hell, I don't want to deal with this. Because I'd seen what other people had gone through.
But at the time, Clovis is gospel. No one has been able to convince the scientific world that anyone arrived earlier than 13,000 years ago. Knowing the scholarly world will try to tear him down, Dillehay fiercely defends his evidence.
We excavated it very cautiously, and we're going to stick with our data and stick with our word.
But the cost is high.
20 colleagues signed a letter and sent it to the president of the university saying that I should be dismissed for bringing up an archaeological site like Monteverde, and stating in that letter, too, that I never got a PhD, which is an outright lie. And I just kept thinking, to the hell with these people. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just defending their paradigm. I learned, you attack me and I'm going to attack you, too.
Dillehay collects hundreds of radiocarbon dates, backs up everything with supporting evidence, and invites his critics to come see for themselves. It takes 30 years to shift the tide.
Monteverde broke the paradigm, broke the barrier, so to speak.
Monteverde is a turning point. The date of human arrival gets shifted from 13 to 15,000 years ago. But Ardeléan's discoveries in Mexico are double that, 30,000 years ago. Now his evidence is under threat. This time it's not the cartel, but the weather. A windstorm is moving in, and it threatens to tear the camp apart. A story 30,000 years in the making could be blown away in a single day. Prehistoric archaeologist Cyprian Ardelian is on a quest to rewrite history, to prove humans were in North America thousands of years before previously thought. But the evidence he needs is under threat.
You need to be obsessed to do this. I mean, how can you do this year after year, decade after decade, storm after storm, without being obsessed?
The sunset brings good news. The storm passes.
I think we are safe to go back to work. Let's go.
Deep in the Ice Age layers, Ardelian finds 2 more bones with potential human-made cuts.
And the damage on these borders is not anatomical. Something damaged this bone.
The cut marks could be 17 to 20,000 years old, but did a human make them? He can't say for sure.
Need a more detailed microscopy on a cleaned specimen. This is not treasure hunting. This is rewriting the history of human species. If you rush conclusions and if you celebrate before all the possible alternatives are consulted, you are doing a serious harm to science.
Looking for answers, he flies the bones to an electron microscopy lab in Mexico City. This microscope can magnify a bone down to the atomic level. It should tell them if the cut marks were made by ancient humans or the teeth and claws of another predator.
So if this is really a human-made cut, this is a threshold. This is a real threshold. It would be a really, really big thing.
They're hoping to see the signature mark of a spearhead or blade cut, a crisp, straight line that proves it was human-made.
Starting to see something.
Yep.
There it comes. Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha! That's where it enters.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain this is a cut.
Wow, okay.
This is all we need. This is the evidence we need. Okay, so.
Great.
Congrats to you all.
It's 10 years since the discovery of Chiquihuite.
Wow. Is that right?
That opened it all. It's a crucial moment. It's an emotional moment. My voice is breaking because I'm gonna cry. No, I'm seriously gonna cry.
But his work is not done yet.
Now we have to date that layer. So we still don't know at this moment how old the bones are.
If he can radiocarbon date the bones to 20,000 years or more, he'll have sealed the deal. A human was hunting on the plains of Mexico deep into the Ice Age. The implications are profound. If humans inhabited Mexico this early, they may well have been in the far north even earlier.
Got something? Everybody?
What do you think?
Exciting, it's a horse tooth.
You got a horse?
Yeah.
You got a horse?
Horse tooth is exciting because it tells us that we are definitely in a Pleistocene deposit, possibly older than 14,000 years.
The tooth could belong to an extinct species of horse from the Ice Age.
I just want to keep, I don't even want to talk, I want to keep digging.
Okay.
Got a piece of bone sticking out of the wall here.
Very good. That's encouraging. So hopefully the frequency of those will start to increase as you go deeper.
Soon they find other Ice Age animals.
Finding some bone fragments here and there, this complete bone here.
Like extinct species of caribou.
It's a food bone. That's a good thing for us, and we are hoping to find more. Another one.
Could this pile of bones have been left behind by humans after a hunt?
Lorraine, do you want to see it?
We're encountering bones of animals that are no longer occurring today. They're extinct, including extinct forms of caribou. There's extinct American horse and other animals that would have thrived in a Ice Age environment. And so I think we're probably down to about close to 20,000 years ago. So that's caribou size.
Yeah, I could see the marrow.
Mm-hmm.
Moving with animals is a key part of Vuntut Gwitchin history. Every year for thousands of years, they've followed the porcupine caribou herd, famous for migrating farther than any other land animal on the planet, traveling over 1,500 miles in a season.
They use the caves here. They use the hills and the mountains behind me. They use the rivers and the creeks, and that brought them to navigate all from the west, following the animals.
Vuntut Gwitchin oral history is rich with stories of tool making, hunting, walking great distances, and hunting mammoths.
So there's a lot of reasons why I know that people have been here a long time. We know that mammals have been using land areas to cross between the continents for millions of years. They had to have land that was dry, that had food, and they wandered across it.
Before and even during the Ice Age, animals migrated across continents as the climate fluctuated. The ice that covered Canada reached its peak about 20,000 years ago. But go farther back in time, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago, and it gets warmer and warmer.
So we're told that even though early humans were very capable and they walked from Africa to northern Asia, they just stopped when they got there and they never crossed, like the mammals were coming and going all this time and humans never came over here. That doesn't make any sense.
If herds of animals crossed into North America before the ice wall formed, maybe humans did too. Maybe they followed the food. The final proof could be here in New Mexico. In a restricted area of White Sands National Park, Park Ranger David Bustos surveys an area that's been freshly exposed by high winds and heavy rains. He notices something unusual: huge imprints in the sand.
First prints we've seen in the park was after a large flood event. I was walking around and started looking and seeing these enormous mammoth prints. It's, holy cow, it's huge, about 13-foot strides, just really, really large stride. And there's no other animal anywhere, no other tracks that are that large, just an enormous animal.
The storm had ripped off surface layers of sand, uncovering ancient gypsum soil, densely packed and covered in fossilized footprints.
And then, you know, started seeing what looked like elongated prints. Well, am I crazy? Is this real? It'd be really amazing if I was a human, but what are the odds?
At White Sands National Park, something extraordinary is showing up in the sand.
Really incredible footprint. That just doesn't seem possible to have human prints alongside with the mammoth prints.
Mammoths were one of many giant animals known as megafauna that all went extinct here 10,000 years ago. We know humans used to hunt them, But how far back does their interaction go?
I didn't know anything about it. I wondered how common is that to see that, or is that even, should we be seeing that here?
Uncertain of what he's discovered, Bustos reaches out to one of the world's leading experts in footprints.
I'm ready. Off we go then.
Matthew Bennett has studied fossilized footprints all over the world.
The images he sent me at that time were quite intriguing. I wasn't convinced, but I was certainly very interested.
Bustos found the footprints in an area where the general public is not allowed. The only way to access the site is by ATV. White Sands was once the bottom of an Ice Age lake. Thousands of years after it disappeared, wind formed the dunes. The clay-like mud underneath preserved the prints of animals that came here to drink and feed on the plants that grew along the shoreline. Maybe humans were here too.
I can see that one.
Now the lake bed is exposed, offering its secrets.
And it carries on there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What about down there?
Those are toes, and the heel is there. So amazing, look at that.
This beautiful sort of soul print of this human was sitting there. And at that point, I thought, well, there were expletives, shall we say.
In the corner here, under the shadow, you can see toes.
There's a human print. Holy cow, and you know, that was it.
There's another one, you see, the heel's just in here.
I don't get excited about a lot of things. It's not really in my nature. I'm sort of British after all. But there was excitement.
Gorgeous little track.
The footprints generate headlines all over the world, but leave the archaeological establishment scratching their heads.
We have no experience, no realm of experience whatsoever to measure, study, let alone interpret the significance of these footprints.
To uncover the full story of these remarkable human prints, Bennett and Bustos invite a team of experts to have a look. One of them is Indigenous archaeologist Ed Jolie.
Just the number out here, it's astounding. Once you realize what you're looking at, it's hard not to step on one.
It's very much a visual experience being there at White Sands and literally, walking, potentially in the footsteps of my ancestors. These were people that walked and talked, got mad and sad and angry, just like us. It's a pretty powerful experience.
But how old are these footprints? Kathleen Springer and Jeff Pagati are here to confirm the age. Their findings could reshape our understanding of human history. But it won't be easy.
So we were asked to come and sort of do what we do everywhere and help the team understand the timing of all of it. When were the people and the animals hanging out together?
There's a number of sites all throughout the Southwest that have documented interaction between human and the megafauna, but they're typically in the, 13,000-year-old range, in that kind of ballpark. So, before we got any numbers or anything, that's kind of the default.
Frame of reference,
exactly, the frame of reference is that, yeah, these are probably something very similar. The question is, how do you date a footprint? You can't date the footprints themselves. It's at the surface, and so to be able to date something, you have to be able to constrain it in time below and above. And so if the footprints are always at the surface, we can't do that.
Pagati and Springer decide to dig underneath the prints to excavate material that could be dated.
We got to make an exposure. We have to dig a trench.
Yeah.
They're looking for animal or plant remains, anything containing carbon.
And we are painstakingly, bit by bit, 50-centimeter chunks at a time, describing the walls of the sediment.
As they scrape at the trench walls, each layer marks a different period of history. Every 4-inch layer represents roughly 100 years in time. In many of the layers, they notice tiny black dots, the size of pinheads.
We were able to find seed layers, layers of seeds that were positioned above and below various trackways. And there were prints down all over the place, right? And there were prints at the surface. So we basically said, you know, this could cover a fair bit of time.
And these ones are oxidized. There's oxygen in them, but these are the seeds. Then right here, you see seeds. And they're just layers upon layers of...
And in some places, actually, we were able to find seeds in the footprints themselves. So these people were walking around on a landscape, you know, stepping on these plants, which were alive at the time.
They were walking on a margin of a lake, so it was wet and dry in places, and these plants that need water for their life cycle were growing in the wet parts of this environment.
And we use radiocarbon dating of those seeds to constrain them in time. So since that time, when the people stepped on the plants haven't moved, the footprints haven't moved, and so they're directly associated in time.
There's a lot of layers here, so we're really documenting all of them. And then, of course, putting it all together in time to sort of tell the story of all of these layers.
The deeper they dig, the more they find.
There's footprints everywhere. Well, let me show you.
Here.
Oh yeah, there's a mammoth right here.
Wow. Oh my God.
There one, and there's a whole bunch of humans all through.
They're in the subsurface. We're like, yes.
Animal prints mingle with human ones. Each layer takes them further back in time, and many contain the organic matter needed to date them.
It's not just one time frame, one, you know, stamp in time. There's multiple layers over and over and over again where you have the megafauna and the human prints. So there's places where you have mammoth prints a meter above human prints down below, and there's also mammoth prints down below. You can tell there's been a long history of people through the stratigraphy walking along with the megafauna for thousands of years.
After a week of digging, they're 3 feet down, and still no end to the prints. The possibilities are staggering.
It's the sheer volume of tracks. There are thousands, tens of thousands of tracks. We can actually go back in time as if we were, you know, trackers and track the animals and the humans through the landscape over large areas. And that gives us an insight into the way these different animals are interacting with one another.
The team will have to wait for weeks before they get dates back for the tiny seeds. But now, there's evidence of another giant beast who left its mark in the sand.
These massive beasts, you know, that roam through here.
After finding thousands of human footprints,
Hey, look at that.
scientists discover the tracks of another giant Ice Age beast.
These massive beasts, you know, that roam through here. A lot of animal prints in nature are round prints, especially the predators. You know, a bison is sort of a round print, and a camel, you know, a round print. But humans, they have an elongated print. And also giant ground sloth, they also have an elongated print.
The sloth prints are absolutely fantastic.
This was one of the most bizarre-looking megafauna of the Ice Age. The ground sloth stood 10 feet high and weighed 2,200 pounds. They spent their lives eating plants and lumbering through grasslands, searching for water. They were strong but slow, and could have been easy targets for Ice Age hunters.
When you start looking at the prints, it does come to life. Every slight little movement, it becomes real, and you see a story in the footprints.
Reading a detective story, we can see how somebody stepped in the tracks of the sloth print one after the other, harassing or stalking this sloth, making it angry so that it would turn around and flail with its arms, and you can see all those flail motions. And I could read all of that story.
To think about and contemplate interactions between humans and sloths and all these extinct fauna, it's like something out of a movie.
It's a rare glimpse back in time when humans lived side by side with giants. But what was their world really like? And how could it help us understand how and when humans moved across 2 continents? The answer could lie over 4,500 miles away in South America, where a groundbreaking investigation is underway in Brazil. Thais Pansani is a Brazilian paleontologist whose research focuses on the giant sloth and its relationship to ancient humans.
So I love the whole megafauna, but I'm particularly in love with the giant sloth. The interaction of humans with the megafauna is something that makes me really interested.
Giant sloth evolved in South America 30 million years ago, but there is little information about when they first encountered people. Pansani is doing a deep examination into sloth bones that might hold clues to this mystery. They were unearthed from an archaeological site in central Brazil in the 1980s. There are 8,000 sloth bones in the collection, most of which are called osteoderms. These small bones were embedded in the skin beneath the sloth's fur. For a slow-moving beast, this armor may have been their best defense against predators. In a box marked 27,000 years old, Pansani finds several bones that stand out.
I have 3 giant sloth osteoderms that are perforated and polished, so it's something that makes possible the hypothesis of, okay, someone did that, it's not natural.
Could these tiny bones have been reshaped by ancient humans, making ornaments or jewelry?
Nobody did a deep investigation on these ornaments yet, so I started with 2 main questions. If these ornaments were made by humans, and to provide evidences that these modifications were made in fresh bones, in fresh carcass.
If she's right, it will place people in the heart of Brazil 27,000 years ago, at the same time Ardelian claims humans are in Mexico, and could be further proof that humans made it past the ice long before we ever thought. The name of the site where they were found is Santa Helena in Brazil. It was discovered by husband and wife team Denis and Agata Vialu in 1984. Agata is a Brazilian archaeologist who's an expert in prehistoric stone tools.
Un niveau ici extrêmement joli de 5000 ans. Là, nous sommes en train de marcher sur le niveau de 27 000 ans.
Relever, analyser environ 1000 représentations.
Denis Vialu is a well-known French specialist in prehistoric art.
Un ensemble comme celui-ci est relativement rare.
Santa Helena stands in the shadow of a massive cliff wall covered with breathtaking ancient artwork, depictions of humans, animals, and mysterious geometric symbols.
Parce que ce qui m'intéressait, et ce qui m'intéresse beaucoup, c'est ce qui fait la pensée. Si on s'intéresse aux représentations peintes, on va, à ce moment-là, transpercer, pénétrer dans l'inconscient de l'homme qui a fait ces dessins.
Extensive excavations span 20 years. Evidence of human occupation is found at every layer in time. Clothing, tools, and ritualistic garb. The Vialus claim the site spans from 2,000 years all the way back to 27,000 years ago.
27 000 ans par 3, voilà la recherche, 3 méthodes de datation qui prouvent vraiment cette ancienneté. Donc la Santa Helena est exceptionnelle.
This would mean an unprecedented 25,000 years of human occupation in the center of South America. The region is Mato Grosso, a rare oasis, almost unaffected by the Ice Age. It was a microclimate that remained habitable, unlike the icy landscapes surrounding it. Santa Helena could have been a safe haven for people and animals. At several time periods, the Vialus find evidence of humans living with giant sloth.
La mégafaune avec l'homme. C'était pas un achat fortuit, tout ça. C'était l'animal était là, comme ça. Nous avons trouvé quelques osteodermes tout petits. Nous avons trouvé 3 qui ont été transformés. Transformés, pourquoi? Je ne sais pas.
In 2011, the Vialus published their astonishing results. a site in the Americas claiming to have people living in the same location for 25,000 years. But like Bluefish Caves and Chiquihuite, questions are raised about the validity of the dates.
There is the issue that a lot of these are cave sites, so they do suffer from preservation, sediments blowing in, things coming into the caves, things going out. The difficulty of dating stone tools, a lack of, organic material culture that could be more easily dated.
It's going to take our South American colleagues in Brazil convincing us firsthand, not just through their publications, that this is evidence that we need to be paying attention to.
20 years later, Pensani brings Santa Elena back into the spotlight. She spent the last 4 years analyzing the tiny osteoderms with electron microscopes and performing experiments.
There's a lot of evidences that this was made by humans.
If she can prove these bones were modified while fresh, shortly after the beast died, it directly places humans on the site 27,000 years ago. At the same time, humans could be in central Mexico and in the north. If people are settled in every corner of both continents this early, how much earlier would they have had to arrive?
See, it can be done.
In Sao Paulo, Brazil, an experiment is underway that could determine if ancient humans were making ornaments from giant sloth bone. Thais Pensani uses original stone tools from Santa Elena to carve holes in an armadillo bone, the only modern mammal with an osteoderm shell.
See, it can be done.
Armed with her final results, she presents her findings to Agata Vialu, one of Santa Elena's original researchers.
Là, la preuve, elle est extraordinaire parce qu'on voit des traces de ces osteodermes. Quelques-uns auraient pu être transformés par l'homme.
The scanning electron microscope, we have photoluminescence that shows all of these modifications were made in fresh bones by humans during contemporaneous interaction with the giant sloth around 27,000 years ago.
Tu arrives, tu aboutis à un résultat excellent. Bravo, bravo.
And now finally she has these results, just one more piece that shows the significance of Santa Elena.
The Santa Elena site in central Brazil is further evidence the date of human arrival could have been thousands of years before the ice barrier was formed.
L'homme ne peut pas être vraiment là, il a 27-30 000 ans, s'il n'est pas du tout quelque chose qui est venu avant.
I'm trying to do a really good work, but at the same time, I'm just waiting to hear the critics, because I know that some people will not believe, and this is bad actually, because in science we don't need to believe in things, we need to discover.
A constellation of sites is now threatening to rewrite the history books. From the south in Chile to the heart of Brazil, and from the center of Mexico all the way north to the Yukon. But the official story won't change until the scientific community is convinced beyond a doubt.
Changing a paradigm in science is a monumental effort, for sure. And in archaeology, it definitely means that the lines of evidence all have to converge, to come together, to present a very cohesive story about the age and the significance of an archaeological site. And that's a very difficult thing to do.
For now, the prevailing theory says humans entered North America no more than 15,000 years ago. The email Cyprian Ardelian is about to open could change that. Radiocarbon dates for his human-cut bones have just landed. Will they finally prove humans made the marks as far back as 20,000 years ago?
Oh no. Oh, no, 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 no. This is not good. No, this is not good. They didn't work. The samples didn't work. They couldn't date them.
I thought that should date to the glacial maximum, something like 23,000 years old. So that was at stake with these dates.
The bones have been exposed to thousands of years of water, leaching out the collagen needed to date them.
I cannot prove it. I cannot publish this.
And then, at White Sands, New Mexico, an extraordinary turn of events is unfolding. The date of the organic material is in, and this time, there is a clear date.
The oldest known human footprints in North America have been discovered in New Mexico. Scientists identified approximately 60 fossilized footprints.
Recent study detailing what archaeologists believe are the oldest known footprints in the United States is sparking new questions and upending long-held assumptions.
The ages were between 23,000 and 21,000 years ago, right? It's really old, really old. The jaws dropped, right? It was stunning. Well, it's 8,000 to 10,000 years older than Clovis.
Yeah.
It's maybe 5,000 to 7,000 years older than most pre-Clovis sites.
Yeah. And people were here before the last glacial maximum. That's the key thing, because it's that ice sheet barrier, and saying, well, they were here before that ice sheet barrier.
So it fundamentally changes the way that we look at the peopling of the Americas. It changes it entirely. It's a completely new paradigm.
You cannot deny they are human footprints. Really, this looks like humans in New Mexico around the time of the last glacial maximum. And people need to grapple with this now.
The radiocarbon dates of the ancient seeds at White Sands are unequivocal. Hundreds of samples in direct contact with the footprints. Proof of humans deep in the continent over 20,000 years ago.
I never anticipated or prepared myself for it. And I still feel that I'm not really prepared for it. It's just mind-blowing that they're at least twice the age that I ever figured they would turn out to be. We're all going to be going back to the drawing board, trying to understand how these footprints could exist there at such an early time. So there's the potentiality that humans migrated through one of these corridors before the last glacial maximum.
I think what the White Sands site does for American archaeology is it wakes archaeologists up. I think we're at a turning point, you know, and I think we're really going to see a lot of change in the next 10 years.
You want to sit in the front, Bon?
I can sit in the front.
Native peoples have been saying for what feels like forever that they have been here since time immemorial, that we have this deep, venerable connection to the landscape that many people can't claim. White Sands validates everything that Native peoples have known for a long time and been telling everybody, but no one's really paid attention or listened. And so deep down, it feels great to be able to say, see, we told you so.
Bonnie Leno and Kim Charlie are elders whose ancestors have hunted in New Mexico for thousands of years. Their oral histories can shed light on who these ancient people were.
We are from a Pueblo tribe, and we are from the Pueblo of Acoma.
David Bustos got a hold of me and told us that they had found some trackways of mammoths, humans.
There you go.
Okay, good to
There
go.
you go. Native Americans believe it's when you go somewhere where you found, evidence of people living in the past, you always ask permission. When you go to a place like this, you have to really fully go there with an open heart.
Right.
And that's how you're able to connect with whoever's still there. We know that they're still there.
Soon after the elders arrive, the excavation team makes another discovery. Working in the bottom of the trench, they expose a layer that hasn't been dated yet. But what they see here is unprecedented.
Just come down and have a look at I'll help you down so you can see close in.
Wow. Right here. There's no words to describe when you see things like this.
In White Sands National Park, ancient footprints have rewritten the story of human migration to the Americas.
It changes it entirely. It's a completely new paradigm.
And the team uncovers something else.
Just come down and have a look at because there's some amazing child prints here with
Really?
1 or 2 year olds probably.
A small set of footprints that were once inhabited long time ago and embedded into the soil, which turned into rock. No words to describe when you see things like this. It's breathtaking. You only think about your own children, the tiny toes that you would see. It makes you want to cry. That is so nice to touch it.
I mean, there was people here.
There was life back then.
Life here.
Evidence of at least two children. Probably the youngest one, maybe only a 1 or so in age based on its size. And it's got all of these superimposed prints. You can create the scene yourself, that it's a parent out there placing the child down, it's making the first few tentative wobbly steps to become a toddler. It's very, very emotional.
I found another print, Patrick.
Matthew.
Look what I found right there.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
I took all that dirt off and I said, oh, there's something coming up over here. All these prints all over.
The evidence suggests hundreds of generations of ancient humans made the journey here. Where did they come from? And where were they going? The elders tell a story that could provide answers.
We have heard our migration stories passed down from generation to generation to generation. Thousands and thousands of great grandmas, grandfathers, they've walked.
Pathway that we're talking about, coming from all the way from the north, and it leads straight in the same direction as to where White Sands is. And it comes in the same pathway as we see from the north. And it continues all the way into Mexico. And it keeps going.
White Sands has everything to change the game. That shows us that we as species have arrived on the continent many, many, many thousands of years before what the accepted paradigm at the moment is claiming.
Ardalian is compelled to see the footprints firsthand. He drives 1,200 miles from Mexico to White Sands to bear witness.
I found it really important to drive all the way up here to see the footprints, and it's quite emotional for me to be here. I don't think there's any other site in the whole continent discovered so far that has this power. You walk on them. You actually walk on ice age sediments that were exposed by thousands of years of wind blowing the sediments and forming the dunes. Speechless. Thousands of them, everywhere. Busy every day with their tasks, with their chores. That's not the life of somebody who has just arrived. That is the life of someone who's always been here.
Modern science and oral histories combine to paint a riveting picture. A human journey that spans thousands of years, from the far north into New Mexico, from Mexico all the way to South America. The beginning of that story is yet unknown. Ardalian is hoping the elders can help him understand what he's discovered in Mexico.
Our ancestors will show us. When you go to these areas, there's some kind of, it comes from your heart, and they will show you.
It's like they let you find
Right.
things.
Exactly.
That's the same thing I feel when I'm on field work. And somehow that's how I think I was taken to the cave that I found in Mexico.
And that's why I'm here. So for me, this is a learning trip. What would be the link between what we have here, what your ancestors taught you, and what I have found there?
And the connection we have is through our migration stories. We were always traveling, walking.
Back and forth.
Right, right.
And all those tracks that are just one on top of each other.
Right,
Just back and forth.
Yes,
right,
that was
exactly.
For thousands of years.
when we came down from the north. As we
Correct.
migrated down south, according to our stories, our people went as far as to South America.
Now I feel really, really motivated to go to Brazil, to see the materials from those sites in Brazil. I have the feeling that those stone tools somehow are connected more or less directly with my caves in Mexico.
Ardalian travels to the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, where the collection from Santa Helena is housed. There are 8,000 artifacts to sift through. He focuses on the materials excavated from the oldest layers, between 23 and 27,000 years ago. Like Chiquihuite's tools in Mexico, they are made of limestone, but the similarities seem to go far beyond that.
I thought that coming here to see the Santa Helena materials would show me some sort of technological connections, but only that. An absolute shock to me.
Deep in the archives of a museum in Sao Paulo, Brazil, Cyprian Ardalian is uncovering an extraordinary connection.
I thought that coming here to see the Santa Helena materials would show me some sort of technological connections, but only that. But I identified shapes that are shared between Santa Helena and Chiquihuite. There are several here that you look at them and you say, oh my God, is this from my collection? An absolute shock to me. It's just like looking at Chiquihuite all over again.
After 2 days of intensive comparison, Ardalian calls in the Villaluz to show them what he's discovered.
And I knew that Santa Helena was the right place to come, right?
Thank you.
But I didn't expect this level of analogy, honestly. Mais, voyons. I saw this and I went, oh my God, this is a really spectacular blade. I mean, it's exactly what I have at Chiquihuite.
Non, non, ça c'est Santa Helena seulement. C'est quoi?
Just have a look at this. J'ai beaucoup de points transversales.
Ah oui.
Not only are the blades and scrapers the same shape, but they seem to have been made using the same techniques.
Wow.
Remarquable.
They obtain the symmetry of the
Oui.
point by retouching one or two edges of a transversal flake. That's a pattern.
C'était des, on appelait toujours des micro-retouches.
Blade after blade, tool after tool.
C'est intentionnel. C'est intentionnel.
They find small and large technical details that match.
La partie longue est perpendiculaire sur l'extraction. Et finalement,
Finalement encore.
les pièces concaves. Spectaculaire.
Si ces parentés sont réelles, sont très fortes, ce qui est là est fantastique.
I came here and I rediscovered the same types of tools as at Chiquihuite. So it's not just a vague resemblance, but probably it's the same culture.
Non, mais avec cette distance,
Oui.
vraiment, hémisphère nord et centre de l'Amérique du Sud.
So analogous sites does not mean necessarily the same nation or the same tribe or the same people. They mean the same culture. The tools have similar technology.
A closer look also reveals clues about when and how these ancient people may have moved across the landscape.
I also realized something very interesting. The foundations for those behaviors were set here in the south, and then these people moved north and stayed there for longer
If the tool-making techniques Ardelian sees originated in the south and were further developed in the north, could this indicate a south-to-north migration? Once again, turning established paradigms upside down.
It's a turning point, not only for me, for the American prehistory. I have received more than I hoped for.
Oui, moi je suis surprise aussi de cette conjonction. Hein.
If the evidence from Santa Elena is accurate, then it blows the genetic models out of the water. It blows the archaeological models out of the water as well. If we can agree as a community that they provide unequivocal evidence of early humans 30,000 years ago in South America, then that's going to change everything. There's no question.
The notion that it started with a single northern entry point is now up for debate. Everything is.
What about multiple entry points at the same time from all angles? People moving north, people moving south, people moving east to west, west to east. That's what people do around the world. What about seafaring? I mean, we are open. That's what makes archaeology exciting.
There's absolutely no reason to think that humans around this period in the last 20,000 years couldn't have had boats. People might have taken island hopping between small islands. We know that there were Pacific voyagers, certainly within the last few thousand years old, settling Pacific islands. And that is incredibly advanced maritime technology. There's no reason to underestimate indigenous peoples.
I very much had tunnel vision, and everything to me had to do with the Bering Land Bridge. By broadening my horizons into coming into contact with archaeologists and indigenous peoples, and I'm much more willing to accept other ways of thinking about this problem than I certainly ever used to be.
I'm encouraged to say that we'll come back next year and basically pick up where we left off, and ideally extend the excavations back into the rock shelter and deeper.
I'm very happy that I can carry on this work, and hopefully I will vindicate the work of Jacques Cinq-Mars and what the Wounded Gwich'in has kept telling all their stories.
Archaeologists, all of us, must grapple with the idea that our earliest prehistory may have to be rewritten over and over again.
Just sitting down here, honoring our ancestors.
When I started with this, I was searching for the oldest, the first. Let's be open to whatever that science brings us. Dig deeper and deeper. Don't stop where your current paradigm tells you to stop. Go all the way to the bottom. Maybe there's people there. Maybe there's people there. There is no oldest and earliest anymore.